Hi everyone, it's Jelynn Malone here, co-founder of Mostra Coffee, and welcome to Mostra Monday. Today I have an incredible guest, Chasen Blair, an MMA fighter, local Rancho Bernardo High School alumni, and he's here to talk us through his incredible career and journey becoming a mixed martial artist. Hi Chasen, how are you?
Doing well, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I just want to get into it. So tell me from the start, kind of where this whole thing began for you, being a fighter and a wrestler.
So I started in karate at 4 years old. My parents put me in martial arts at a very young age because my dream at the time was to be a Power Ranger. I was absolutely obsessed. And so I had
Which Power Ranger did you want to be?
Wanted to be the red one.
Oh, okay.
Wanted to be the red one.
I wanted to be the yellow one, because the Yellow Ranger, because she was Asian.
Yeah.
Well, at least I don't know if she was Asian when you were watching Power Rangers. She was definitely Asian when I was watching Power Rangers, which was a long time ago. But anyways, okay, continue. So you want to be the Red Ranger?
So I wanted to be the Red Ranger, and so I was competing in karate. I took to it naturally, like it was just something that I felt right away I loved to do, and my parents were putting a lot of support into me. I was traveling, competing at a young age, doing like AAU national tournaments, going to Florida, and going over to the East Coast and everything like that. And
how old were you when you started traveling all the way?
6, 7 years old.
Across the country. Oh my gosh, that's like first, second grade,
yeah.
kindergarten. I mean,
so I was that
wow.
old, and my sister was like newborn to like 2 years old at that point, so she was even coming with us, and my grandparents would come and they would watch her, and they would like come to the tournament as well, and it was a whole family ordeal. And I think even at that age, like I knew I always wanted to aspire to be a martial artist, and because I was already traveling at that age, it was some of the other people I was looking up to in the dojo, and some of my cousins, all these others, my sensei had, they'd competed internationally, and so that was like the aspiration. When you see other people, traveling, people you look up to, you want to be like them. And my dad had wrestled in high school, but they started offering jiu-jitsu at the dojo I was training at, and so my mom, as a gift to him, got him a membership, so he got into jiu-jitsu and fell in love with it. And so me as his son, you always want to be like your dad. And so when my dad started training, it was like, oh, like I want to train with dad. And he would actually do jiu-jitsu tournaments as well, and he would compete. And one of the coolest things for me as a kid is actually going to a jiu-jitsu tournament, and my dad won his division and I won my division as well.
Stop. And you guys had that? Oh, those kinds of moments?
We had those kinds of moments.
That's amazing.
And we would travel all over Southern California and the country and competing, and share it with my dad was really cool. And even now, as I'm 25 years old, and my dad still comes to my practices sometimes, and he comes and supports me. And when I fight internationally, he flies out, helps me with my weight cuts, and he's there for my fights and everything. And
so cool.
So
is your dad and mom, your family, do they go to all of your fights?
My dad's been to every single one of my fights. My mom hasn't been able to make it to the ones overseas, but she's always very supportive, and she hosts watch parties and everything like that every time I fight. And
oh, cute.
It's I always feel the love even when I'm away. Yeah.
I mean, I think that family support is everything. I mean, just for you to say my dad was at every single fight is huge, and that you guys got to compete together. That was awesome.
Martial arts was something I was just always in love with. Like I wanted to always excel at it. My dad saw that in me, and so I was in kindergarten, first grade. I was waking up at 6 a.m. before school and like already like practicing my katas, like my forms. He would like
on your
hold
own or with
my dad. He would
okay.
He would like hold mitts for me and do stuff like that, because I really wanted to excel and I wanted to compete. And
so you wanted to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so because this is what we were just talking about with another guest too, is that like, was this something that your parents pushed on you, or was this something that you pushed, or was it a collective you and them push?
So I think it goes in phases, right? Because there's like at a young age it feels like there's pressure, because right, I think of it like even now it's a wheel, right? So like if other people believe in you, that means they see something that you don't necessarily always see in yourself. Sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. but when other people believe in you, that means you believe in them, right? Like, so my dad, he was like, hey, like, you know, you have this ability, I'm gonna push you. And so I'm like, okay, if my dad believes in me and he thinks I have this, and my, you know, my sensei, my training partners, my mom, all these people are supporting me, then there must be something there, so I might as well keep going. So I was believing into them. So now we're starting like this positive feedback, you know, but then sometimes there's times you lose, or there's times you get burnt out, and, you know, it's hard, especially, right, karate and like martial arts isn't, like, I think now, like, jiu-jitsu is more mainstream. Like, I think, especially in San Diego, in this area, I think every person knows at least one person that practices, or one of their kids, you know, but 15 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case. So it was, you know, it's different, a little bit more of an obscure sport. And in this area at that time, it wasn't, like, as accessible. And people were like, what's he doing? Like, what, like, he's doing karate, he's doing jiu-jitsu. Like, what's that even mean? Like, is he like Karate Kid? Like, you know, Ralph Macchio stuff, you know?
Right. It's like the only thing that people could
associate with. Because that's what you're associating. You know what I mean? At this time, UFC wasn't on ESPN. It wasn't like martial arts. It didn't have the same, like, legitimate, like, affiliations that it did now. Like, I think especially since COVID and everything, where that was like the first sport on, like, I think it really opened people's eyes to it. But so at that time, it was difficult because, you know, all the other kids are playing soccer, they're, you know, playing football, and you're not on the same teams with all of them. And so as I got older, like middle school, wrestling was actually a part of the school. Like Bernardo Heights has a wrestling program, which Mesa Verde didn't. And then Rancho Bernardo had a
Is that why you moved over there?
Yeah. Okay. So my parents got divorced when I was in middle school, and so my mom was living in this area in Rancho Bernardo, Carmel Mountain area, and so I wanted to. Rancho Bernardo had a good wrestling program, and it was like an up and coming program, and so I wanted to be a part of it. I met Coach Joe when I was in 7th grade, still the head coach there, and, you know, he took me under his wing, and, you know, a lot of still my best friends were on the team to this day. You know,
oh my gosh,
we all
that's
grew
amazing.
up together, we still hang out, and so that for me, like, being able to have that camaraderie and, like, be able to have, you know, see the same people you're training with after school, same people you're seeing at school, where, like, with karate and jiu-jitsu, that wasn't necessarily the case because there's not that affiliation to the school.
Right. Okay, so taking it back to when you were small, and you were, so would you say that when you were younger, like, I'd say like elementary school age, when jiu-jitsu, actually I would even say middle school, when jiu-jitsu wasn't as mainstream, was that something that you were aspiring to do at that time, or did you have other goals in mind at that point?
From as early as I could remember, all I've ever wanted to do is, you know, travel the world and compete against the best martial artists. It's all I've ever wanted to do. I've always wanted to fight. I've always wanted to, you know, fly around and see whether or not I could be the best in the world. And that's, you know, I was already like when I was already 6, 7 years old, I was flying from like California to Florida, and I was competing against kids all over the nation. And then sometimes we'd have kids from Japan come in to come train with us at our dojo, and, you know, you train with those guys and stuff like that. And some of older cousins and people I looked up to, they would actually go travel, compete in Japan in like karate tournaments. And my sensei himself, he had traveled around, was like on the Pan American team, gone to Pan American championships and everything like that. So when those are the people you're looking up to, and that's what, you know, you want to do, that's what you aspire to do. And so I think having that in my life was just kind of a focus. So like for me, martial arts, like MMA now, it just feels like a natural progression. Like it doesn't feel like, it's one of those things that I don't feel like it was ever forced. Like there was times like I needed to get, you know, have people put me back onto that path. I was kind of straying, you know, but it's always something I've always wanted to do, and couldn't imagine doing anything else.
So growing up, were there challenges with like your social life, as far as like, because you were training so much and like that's what you did, and other kids were going out and partying, I don't know, you know, like being teenagers, or did you have a good balance of both?
When I was younger, like definitely like up until like high school, I was very focused on like karate, jiu-jitsu and all that, which is like outside of school. So you're not making those same sort of friends, like, you know what I mean? Because, right, all the other kids, they're on, like, they're going to school together, then they're seeing, oh yeah, I'm going to see you at football practice later, or I'm going to see you at soccer practice. So or like they're on the same travel club, or they play, like especially like Rancho Bernardo, right? All the kids, they all play travel baseball together. Or you know what I mean? So they're all on like seeing each other. So if you're around each other more often, you're gonna just naturally develop relationships, stuff like that. So I think it was a little bit tougher for me at that time. But then once I got to high school,
and I was wrestling.
Yeah, I was wrestling. That's when I was able to establish that friend group and still stay in contact with a lot of the kids that I wrestled with.
And then after high school, tell me about your journey from then. What was next for you?
Yeah, so in high school, I had won a California state title at Rancho Bernardo, and I won a high school national title as a sophomore. And so I was getting recruited by a lot of colleges. And
like early on then, because...
Yeah, I was getting recruited after my sophomore year. As soon as I forget what day it is, like August of my junior year, from that point on, I was getting recruited by a lot of schools. And UNC was University of North Carolina was a program that was turning around. Coleman Scott was just made the head coach. He was an Olympic bronze medalist, and he was also a national champion at Oklahoma State. And Tony Ramos was there. He was national champion at Iowa. And then Kenny Monday was an Olympic gold medalist. So they basically got a whole new coaching staff my senior year of high school when I was getting recruited. And then my recruiting class coming in was like one of the top recruiting classes in the country. My roommate in college, Austin O'Connor, was actually a 2-time national champion at UNC. So there was a lot of talent there, and and it was also like that good mix of academics and athletics, because it was an up-and-coming program, and it was a good top tier university. Has a big emphasis on sports, right? I think Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
So it was to me, that's where I wanted to go. It was definitely hard for me being so far away from my family, because you're on the whole other side of the country, and you're there in the summertime, right? You're taking summer classes. You're always training.
So you didn't get to come home for the summer.
No, and then the wrestling seasons from October to March, so you're not coming home for Thanksgiving, and then Christmas you're only coming home 2-3 days, where it's like different, because most of my teammates were Midwest or the Northeast. It's very accessible for them to go home. They can like drive, or they can it's only a couple hour flight. Where for me, I'm flying all the way back across the country. And if we have to be back on a certain day, it's with the 3-hour time change, 5-hour flight, that's a whole day, essentially gone. So 2 days,
But what was that experience like though at UNC? Like, you just told me about this elite coaching staff of Olympians and all that. So what was that experience like?
The experience was, I learned a lot. That's what I would say. A lot of challenges. It was difficult, right? You're competing with some of the best, wrestlers in the country, some of the greatest coaches, and day in, day out, you're constantly competing. So, we're waking up, 7 a.m. We have our 7 a.m. lift. Then you got class all day. Then you have practice. After practice, you have to do rehab. There's like academics, so there's like a tutoring hall or a study hall. So then you're doing that, and then you have to finish your own homework, wake up, back at it again. Then a lot of the times, if you're competing, you're on the road, so you're missing Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays of class, and then you're still on the plane trying to study, do everything like that. And then while this is all happening, you're kind of trying to adjust to being a young adult, being so far away from your family.
Right.
Like what was nice is you already some of the kids that you're going to be going to school with, because you're in the same recruiting class. So you already have a strong
community
network of like 30 guys that you eat, sleep, train, live together. So like you're basically in your own fraternity, so it's cool in that regard. But you still have to foster and develop all those relationships. You're not, like, for me, I'm seeing my family twice a year at most. And being from this area, Southern California, weather's hard to beat. You're going to the beach all the time. There's just a lot of different. A lot of my hobbies, like growing up, it was a lot of like skating, surfing, doing stuff like that. And North Carolina, it's limited. Out in like Wilmington, if like on the coast, that's the thing. But that's like 3 hours away from Chapel Hill. So
right.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was a little different, but it was great overall. I learned a lot and couldn't be more appreciative of that experience.
I mean, no, you're definitely gaining the life skills of all that. And I feel like when people are in that situation, I mean, not the same, but like when I was in LA, which was not far from San Diego, I didn't like living there at all, but I didn't leave, like I just stayed and I dealt with it. I dealt with the uncomfortable and, and it made me realize like I want this, so bad that I'm willing to sacrifice the time being away from my family, uncomfortable and all that. And I don't know, I just feel like it gives you like character and, like it shows you like how strong you
100%. I agree. Also, what was crazy about that time is, so for me, like I was in college during COVID. So like my last 3 semesters of college was during COVID. So classes are online. You still have to be there, but like classes are online. So like March of 2020, I fly back here. I finish that semester online. They make us come back out in the summer, and then we're all under the pretense of like the whole world shut down. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
We have to be here to like still wrestle and do stuff.
So you were still able to train.
So there was like all these like social distancing rules with wrestling. So we were getting tested multiple days a week.
Okay, they were just making sure that you were.
Yeah, so UNC was one of the first schools to push coming back on like in-person classes. And when everyone came back in August of 2020, because everybody had been away and like the whole world was shut down, what's college kids gonna do? They're gonna party and have a good time. And so as soon as that happens, like the majority of the campus ends up catching COVID. And so then at that point, there's a lot of backlash. So then they're like, okay, we're switching back to virtual. But then all the students, because we were all assuming that we're gonna be in person, we all signed leases, all this sort of stuff. So everybody's out in Chapel Hill, but but we're all online. So then, like for me, I'm going
just kidding.
So I'm going through my senior year. We don't even know when the season's gonna start, if we're gonna have a season. I had torn my ACL the year prior too, so like I hadn't trained, really hadn't competed, and then I'm like, I want to wrestle, but I don't even know if we're gonna have a season. Season doesn't even start till January, and
that sounds like chaos.
Yeah, it was just a lot of chaos.
And like so much unknown. And
and so the other thing was too, is even if you, let's say, like for me, I didn't get COVID while I was there, but if my roommate had ended up catching COVID, because I had been like
in contact
exposure,
I
had to sit out for 21 days.
I haven't thought about that. Like I talk about businesses and how they were impacted by COVID, but not like athletes in college across the country needing to train and all. This is fascinating to me because I've never
so it was a lot of uncertainty, and then all the classes are online, and so it was
So were you training in jiu-jitsu while you were in school, or were you strictly wrestling?
So once I hit 8th grade, I only was wrestling. I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu anymore.
Okay, so you did not touch jiu-jitsu from 9th grade on. So when did it come back into your life?
Once I finished wrestling. So that's where like that last year of like with COVID and everything, I had finished in 4 years. I still had like 3 years of eligibility left to compete in wrestling when I had graduated from college, but I had aspirations to get into MMA. And so that's where I was like, I'm going to move back home and I'm going to start pursuing that goal. I got my degree and ready to take that next step.
So how many years have you been training in for MMA, like your MMA career?
So I've been a professional since 2022.
Okay.
I made my professional debut of April 2022, finished college, moved back here like July 2021. So I was I'd kind of been training my whole life because my dad was like a professional MMA ref too, so he would do that like on the side as well, just for fun, because he loved the sport, and so I'd go with him to watch fights and everything. And so like the first fight that I watched like in person, that's when I knew I wanted to be a professional fighter, was Nick Diaz fought Paul Daly at the Sports Arena when I was in the 6th grade. I think it was 2011, and it was brawl of a fight, but I just remember it was like sold out crowd and the energy in the room. I was like top top row.
Like
with
nosebleeds?
With nosebleeds with binoculars, you know, and it's like funny because they have like the screens there, and so like when you're at an event, sometimes it's like hard to see if you're not like up close. But like I was like so happy that I got to go, and my dad had paid the money to get tickets, that I was like, I'm gonna make it a point that I'm not gonna watch the screen, because then that's no different than watching it like on TV.
Let me enjoy this in-person experience.
So I'm gonna use the binoculars and I'm gonna look through it like this. So I'm sitting there watching it like this the whole time.
Oh my god!
But then you can like hear the crowd roaring and everything, and I'm like watching it like specs through the binoculars like this.
And squinting.
Yeah. But it was like it was a whole experience. I got Phil's barbecue before, and
exactly.
So it was an awesome experience though.
So I need to ask you. My husband James is obsessed with like MMA, everything. Like ever since, I mean, he and I have known each other since middle school. So like he had like old videos from like Pride, like back in the day. Like he can talk about it. Like he should be doing this interview, not me, honestly. But so anyways, it's on all the time at my house. He's just watching highlights. Like we'll be going to bed, he'll be like, you gotta watch the top 10 knockouts and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay. I can barely watch. But honestly, as someone who like does not have that, you know, I'm not a fan of it like he is. But like, what is it? Like I watch these guys, you guys, not these guys, you guys. I watch you guys, you know, with no gloves, you know, like getting knocked out. And I mean, I don't know. I have such a huge respect for MMA fighters just because the toughness of it all. I mean, no offense to soccer players, but like they'll like kind of get hit and fall over and just be like down on the ground for like, you know, 30 seconds, you know. And then I'll watch a UFC fight and like they're like, you know, punching each other with like their metal fists basically and staying up and like keep, you know, what is it? Like what is it that you love so much about it that like makes you feel like this is what you want to do?
I think I just like legitimately love the whole, like the process of it. Like the fight itself is the reward, but I legitimately enjoy the whole process of, you know, training every day, trying to refine all my technique. I like the moments when, you know, I'm running early in the morning by myself. I got my headphones on. There's no cars on the road. And, you know, that's my time to think. That's my time to, you know, where I'm visualizing where I want to be, you know, 5 years from now. I'm seeing, you know, that's what kind of gets me up every morning. I'm seeing all of, like, envisioning the fight before it happens. You know, I'm 8 weeks out. You know, even, like, weight cutting, all that other stuff, eating the right diet. Like, you know, it's very difficult and it's hard, but like, you know, the whole process of it, like, because there is a lot of teamwork in it, right? Like the fight itself is a byproduct, but there's so many people around me supporting me, right? My parents, family, you know, coaches, management, everything like that. There's so many people that put in a lot of time so that I can live my dream, and I'm super appreciative to them. But it's you know, even like traveling around, flying. And, you know, like I think the thing about it I love the most is that there's so much uncertainty with it, right? Because at the end of the day, a fight, there's an infinite amount of variables, and you can work so hard. You know, the other guy's working so hard. You can have this skill set. You can have spent hours and hours, and like the only thing that is certain is that there's an infinite amount of certainties. Like there's no guarantee you're gonna win. That's why there's a fight, right? It doesn't matter what the odds say. It doesn't matter, you know.
That's so true. Like I'm watching these fights, and it's like, you know, these two champions going up against each other, and it's just like that. You know, one guy just happens to kick the other guy in a spot, like finds that window, and it's like a knockout, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know.
And that's the thing. At the highest level, it's like it's all about matchups and everything, but there's certain guys that are at a certain skill level where they could fight 100 times, they might split 50.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just whose day is it that night, you know. That's what realistically, like if you're in the UFC, like these are the best martial artists in the world, like on any of those guys' best night, they could probably be a UFC champion. It's just who's the most consistent. Right.
Okay, what's going on in your mind? Okay, like you're there and you're in the middle of a fight. Are you, and I'm sure everyone's got like their own process, but for you personally, do you have like internal dialogue happening like when you're in the middle of a fight, or are you Or do you like black out?
So like my coach always says to me, he always says like mushin, which means like no mind. So like for me, it's like I'm present, I'm there, but I'm not thinking about anything. Because if you're thinking, that's, you know what I mean, that means you're processing, that means whatever's happening, you're probably going to miss it. So it's just more of like, there's so much drilling, so much, time on the mat, so much time hitting mitts, so much time like working on slips, pullbacks, all that sort of stuff that, when you're there, you're just in the moment and things just kind of happen. You're just processing, like, not necessarily by thinking. So you are
not like, come on, Chasen, do that thing.
There's not much internal dialogue. It's just,
so the no mind.
You're just kind of existing in that moment. Like for me, that's where I feel most at peace. Like that's where I feel like it's that's where I'm supposed to be. And obviously you get the anxiety, right? Like you're about to walk out. There's this whole crowd. The cameras are in your face, and there's all this like, oh, what if I lose? What if this happens? But then you just, I always remind myself, this is something I chose to do. Nobody like forcing me to do this, right?
Well, what about before the fight? Are you in your head before the fight? Are you talking to yourself then?
Yeah. So there's always like before like once like when you're in the back room, like for me, like that's when I'm having all like the internal dialogue. That's when like there's all the self-doubt. That's all when you're like, oh, like what if this goes wrong? What if this? And then you kind of just got to realize like, I've put like my goals are not in the end result, but in the process of, did I do everything that I could do to put myself in the best position possible for success tonight?
And are you nervous?
Yeah, there's going to be nervous. There's going to be, like self-doubt, but then that's where you fall back on, I've trained so hard. I've done all these things. I know I've eaten right. My diet was right. I made the weight. I did this. My coaches believe in me. My family believes in me. I'm here because I'm here for a reason. I'm not here, you know what I mean? I've been training my whole life. I'm not like randomly like, oh, like I'm just in this situation. Like,
right. It wasn't by chance.
Yeah, this wasn't by
effort.
Chance. This was this was a trajectory that I've been on. So why would I, so these are the kind of like internal dialogues I'd be having myself before I start walking. And then as soon as the walk happens, that's where the switch flips. Everything's just kind of like, not numb, but like you're processing everything. But with each step, I feel progressively more confident.
I love that. When people ask me about me, when I have to host on stage in front of like thousands of people, and I literally would say I black out. It's chaos in my mind because I'm trying to remember everything I need to do, whatever. And then I get up there, and then all of that just like washes away, and then I'm just like, okay, and I'm just like, I'm here, I'm talking to everybody, and then I don't know, I've never heard anyone say it that way, but I love that. Wait, what? How do you say no mind? How does your
so it's like a Japanese term, but it's called mushin, which means no mind.
Mushin?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
cool.
like I think if you're authentically doing what you're supposed to be doing, that's when you'll be in those situations where you're able to, everything kind of turns off and you're able to just excel at what you're supposed to be doing because you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Well, can we go back to your family really quick? Because you are half Filipino.
Yes.
So who is Filipino?
So
mom or dad?
My mom's Filipino, and my grandparents are from the Philippines. My grandpa's from Pangasinan, and then my grandmother's from Abando. I actually got to go with them to the Philippines in 2019. I was wrestling at the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex, and I was on the Philippine national team for freestyle wrestling. So I got to.
So cool.
So I got to experience
how'd that opportunity
that with them.
come up?
So I ended up getting. I went through the process of getting dual citizenship, and I had teammates that were wrestling internationally, and I was always very proud of my Filipino heritage, and I was really close with my grandparents, and they were always very supportive of my passion for martial arts.
Okay, so these were not like Filipino parents that were like, no, you need to pursue a career in medicine or something.
No. My grandparent, when I was 7 years old, my grandparents were flying to Florida to watch me compete in karate tournaments and stuff.
That's
and they were
amazing.
coming, and my sister was just a baby at the time, but they were sitting there in the hotel, and even now, every time I fight in San Diego, my grandparents are going to be there, and they're coming. And what's funny is my grandma will sit, and she won't come to the fight, but she'll sit in the hotel room but she'll be there.
She doesn't go to the fight?
She doesn't go to the fight. She sits because usually at most of the venues there's like a hotel. Like,
yeah.
So she sits in the hotel and she just prays the whole time. She doesn't.
Oh God, like a true.
She doesn't watch
Is she
the
Catholic?
fight. No, she's Protestant, but
okay, but she's just praying.
Yeah.
Like a Filipino Lola does.
Yeah, so she's praying, and then so that's where she always gets nervous because usually like there's like a crowd roar or something, and she's like,
"Does that mean?
I hope he's winning."
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Wait, why doesn't she watch? Because is it hard? Is
it's
it just
hard
too
for her to watch.
It's
like
her baby is like fighting, getting hit, and you're yeah.
So she doesn't watch. My grandpa's always there, and I mean, it was always like when I was growing up, I was always watching Bruce Lee movies with my grandpa, or we were watching, like I say now, like the saddest thing for Filipinos, like young Filipinos growing up, is they never have to watch a Manny Pacquiao fight in his prime.
Oh my gosh, I know,
that's
right?
Like, so like then like growing up, I was 9-10 years old when Manny Pacquiao was in his prime, and we're having a party every time he's fighting, and there's 50 people there, and like at my house we had like wrestling mats in the garage, so all the kids are wrestling around, boxing each other, and like jumping, and it's just like a whole event every single time, and that's what representation really matters, right? So like for me, like as a kid, like we were kind of talking about earlier, where being like a Mestizo kid, like seeing, okay, like Manny Pacquiao, he's winning fights, and then like I know you're familiar with Brandon Vera, but he was in the UFC at the time. Mark Munoz, he was in the UFC as well. He was a national champion at Oklahoma State, wrestled from California. So these are the kind of people like I'm looking up to, and I'm like, there's not really too much representation in other sports,
need more, for
right?
sure.
So for me, that was like the combat sports space. Because in combat sports, it doesn't matter what size you are. There's weight classes, divisions, everything like that. So Manny Pacquiao is 5'5", and he's at one point was one of the biggest sporting stars in the world, right?
Really?
Where what other sport could you be 5'5"?
Yeah.
And be
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, what do you hope to do with your success? I have full faith in you that you are going to make it all the way and achieve all your dreams and goals. I mean, you've got like the mindset there, but like, what do you hope to do with it?
My biggest hope is, for people, or especially young kids, right now that there's so many kids doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, like doing MMA in these communities, that they're looking at me, because like when I was watching like Manny Pacquiao, it's like you're familiar with his story, to see how successful he was with so limited. It was like, to me, I was like, well, why not me? I have all these people that believe, that are like all these resources, all these people that are helping me out, and I have all these, things. If he could do it with nothing, with what I have, why can't I do something?
Right.
And so that's what I'm hoping that, especially like in the Filipino community, like in the Fil-Am space, that there's, kids that are looking up to me and they're saying, why not me? Well, if he can do it, why can't I do it? And I think that's, my biggest hope, in that, hopefully there's a day when, all the kids are watching my fights, and they're there and they're wrestling around, they're eating lechon and they're doing their thing.
Yes.
And, it's, and then they're, training and getting ready to, whether it's fighting or whatever aspirations they have in life, that, they believe in themselves.
So if you could look back on your whole life experience up to this point, what would you say to the kids watching today, or athletes that are training to go pro? What would you say made the difference? What was the game changer for you in your whole like training process that you think like really helped you like just take us to the next level?
I would say the biggest thing, like a lot of people talk about, for me, is my work ethic, discipline, and I think a lot of that just comes from genuine love. So I think if you legitimately love what you do, it's easier to be disciplined, it's easier to work hard, because it's not a labor, it's a privilege, and that's how I truly feel when I'm competing and training, right? Like, it's just something I get to do. Like, being a professional mixed martial artist is something I wanted to do as a kid. So when there's the days I have to wake up, or I can't go to this party because there's gonna be a bunch of food there because I'm cutting weight and I can't eat it, I think to myself, this is what myself as a kid would dream of. So this is something I get to do, not something I have to do. Like, it's okay that, you know, is it sometimes unfortunate? Does it sometimes make relationships hard? Or like, you know, you can't go out on that date night, or you can't, you know what I mean, do that thing. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's a privilege at the end of the day. And I think if you're truly love and what you're passionate about, and you're putting yourself in a position that you're authentically yourself, then it'll be easy to develop that work ethic and to really go that extra mile.
I love that. Okay, everybody at home, take notes, listen to what Chason said. It's the work ethic and the commitment and the sacrifice. It really, I mean, and that is absolutely yeah, true.
It doesn't matter what endeavor it is in life, you know, it's always looking at things as a sacrifice is like, I think is just like, that means you're giving up something and you're doing something that you necessarily don't want to do. Where for me, it's like, yeah, maybe I'm abstaining from eating this, or I'm not being able to go out or do whatever, but this is something at the end of the day I know I want to do.
Right, it's like the shifting of the perspective.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's like the hardest thing, because it's like, it's easy. Like, I feel like it gets like mentally fatiguing and taxing when you're like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I have to do this. You know,
people
and it
don't
just starts
realize
to like weigh on you. Where it's, you know, when you start reframing it as, and this is, I get to do this, yeah, I get to do that, yeah, like these are all choices. Like, nobody's like forcing you to do any of these things. But if it's something you truly love, then, you know, you'll be willing to make those decisions.
Well, you are a new Mostra performance athlete, which we are so honored to have Chasen as a part of that program. And that is something that my partner Sam like really feels very, very connected to. And a lot of that is just we don't have very many, because, you know, we are really looking for people that are not only aligned with Mostra's values. You know, our slogan is be the reason people see the goodness in humanity. Like, you have to be a good person. First and foremost, be a good person. But two, it's like, it's really like, are you performing at the highest level of excellence? Are you on a national, international stage, and are you, you know, doing work that is impacting, you know, the world for the better and inspiring people to do that? And so, you know, just listening to you now and you know, just hearing your entire mindset like makes complete sense as to why, you know, Sam felt so strongly about having you be a part of this. And I mean, I am so grateful to have you and get to go on this journey with you, and, you know, have Mostra fuel you, you know, in your performance in your career. I wanted to ask you also, so we were kind of getting into this earlier, and it was your nickname.
Yeah.
So you used to be
Chasen Paper.
Did you come up with that?
No, so I didn't come up with it. So after
I love that though. It's funny.
So after my first professional fight, it was in Manchester, England.
Okay.
Paddy Pimblett, who's in the UFC, I was helping him with his training camps, and so he came to support me for my fight. And so if you're familiar with him, he definitely has a bold personality, a little, you know, and so after the fight, like, you know, in the training camp leading up to the fight, they were always talking about, like, in mixed martial arts, you don't get paid overtime. So, you know, you want to get in and you want to get out. And so I was able to get a really quick finish, first round in my professional debut. And so when I got out of the cage and went to the back room, Paddy was like, oh, he's chasing that paper. And he has like a funny accent. So that's kind of how it started. And so at that time, I was just like, yeah, like, I'll kind of let it stick. But like the hardest part with it is, you know, chasing paper. Like, you know, like my grandpa is like, what is this? Chasing paper. It's mayabang. Like, it's like kind of like, it's kind of like a more brash.
Right.
And so, you know, it doesn't really necessarily match like the ethos of who I am as a person and everything. So that's where
definitely, you know. Like, I'm like, now that I'm talking with you, so it's like miyabang is like kind of like a show off, like you're but you're just like a very humble, down to earth.
And so that's like the thing. That's where it was like, you know, it's hard to like really continue to brand myself in that way. It's like, you know,
Makes
I don't got no chains. I'm not like
right.
not very like flashy and everything. So I was like talking, you know, my Uncle Nino, and like we were just like, what is like authentic to you and like what kind of makes sense. And so we'd actually just met with Sam and Mike, and we were driving, you know, down the 56 way back up to Cardiff. And
My partner Sam and Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we'd met with them like just like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, I remember that.
And so from there he was like, what about Mestizo? And then like as soon as he had said that, it just like clicked that, you know, that's what made sense to me, being Filipino American and you know, having dual citizenship, competing for the Philippines and then competing all over the country here. And you know, for all my fights, I always bring you know, a Filipino flag with me. And you know, it also, like Mestizo, it represents, you know, my dad's very much part of my process, and he's always there with me, so it's representing him and my mom as well. And you know, I think it's cool to be kind of in that you know, Filipino American space where it can definitely be challenging to navigate sometimes. And so I think it was, you know, made sense for me, and it definitely speaks to who I am as a person, and it's definitely part of my identity.
Well, and then Sam said that that you're a fan of Mostra, like your family.
Yeah.
So you've already been drinking.
Yeah. So
coffee.
I'd been previously drinking Mostra because my grandparents live around the corner here by Highland Ranch, and so we'd come up. And so once I'd heard that, you know, when I'd come back from college, I'd heard that there's Filipino roots in Mostra. I was like, oh, I have to try it. And then it's like right next to my grandparents' house. It's perfect. I'll visit them. I'll get a cup of coffee. And so my girlfriend and I would come, and our favorite, so there's two. I really like the bibingka latte, but that's like, it's been a little too hot for that. And like, you know, it has all the sugar and all. Yeah. You can't really have it iced and everything. And then I was always a big fan of the ube latte because it reminded me of, like, you know, you go to like Red Ribbon Bake Shop or like the ube milk. And so that's like,
do you do it with espresso or not?
No. We just,
you gotta try it with espresso.
I tried it with the espresso. I liked it, but then it was like, I kind of just like it almost as like,
you just want to taste all the ube.
I didn't want to dilute the ube flavor.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense.
But so I like those are like my two favorite, and then I like the Vietnamese coffees. Vietnamese
can't go wrong with that
well.
either.
Yeah.
I love that. So your family's been coming to Mostra. Thank you for the support. Thank you, Lola and Lolo, for supporting us. All right, so you've lived in the Philippines.
I didn't live there.
You visited the Philippines.
Yeah, I'd visit. So I went for like 6 weeks before, and then I'm actually getting ready to go again at the end of the year. So I'm really excited.
Oh, fun. Oh my gosh, I love the Philippines. So since you are integrated into your roots, you've been to the Philippines, you're going back. What are some of your favorite Filipino dishes?
So it depends. So like, there's nothing that gets me going more than when you walk into a room and there's a full fried lechon. When you go into a party and you just look in the corner and you see the pig head and you see the whole body.
Yeah,
and then,
with the apple. And
the apple, and people are chopping it up with like a plate. And like,
honestly, right? They'll find anything. Like a cup, like a red Solo cup, like just.
And you just get, you know, and when you have the plug, you make the relationship with the Lola, and you get the little extra piece of the crispiest skin. You know, that's a special. But I like that, and then, you know, if you're feeling a little sick, under the weather, you got, you know, some of the Lola's arroz caldo. That's always really good. Can't go wrong with that. Honestly, I love everything.
So did you grow up like sleeping over with your like Lola and Lolo?
Yeah, so my Lola and Lolo would take me to school like 3 days a week.
Okay.
So
like what would they make for you? Like what were some of the things they were making for you, like for breakfast or after school?
Okay, so breakfast, always like corned beef hash, eggs and rice, tocino eggs and rice, spam eggs and rice, longanisa, you guessed it, eggs and rice. Whatever was for dinner with eggs and rice.
And they would always just have like extra eggs on a plate, just randomly on the table sitting there, and you would just be like, I think I'm hungry. It's like 4. And you're just like, I'm gonna grab another one. Yeah.
Always the fried egg. Always the fried egg.
Yeah. So good.
Garlic rice, all that.
Do you know how to make Filipino food? Can you make anything?
see, like, I can make it, but then I feel like there's just always something about, like, I'm not sure if it's because, like, I would try to make like adobo for myself.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if it's, I'm not putting enough love in it, or like what the problem is, but
Yeah, that's it.
I think I'm gonna say the reason why it's not good is there wasn't enough love. But that's like the, like, I just feel like the authenticity when, like, it has to be a Lolo or Lola making it, or
honestly,
like, I think that's like the hardest thing sometimes when you go to like a Filipino restaurant. Sometimes I think the hardest thing is sometimes certain places, they don't always have like the authenticity of the food.
I know, and you're
sense.
just like, it does, like, because I think you just grow up used to a certain way it's made.
Yeah, there's like a certain way it's made, and then there's also, like, I understand, like, if you didn't grow up around it, walking into a Filipino restaurant, like, especially like one where they're like with the combo plates sort of situation, where it can be kind of like overwhelming, like you don't necessarily know, like, what is that, what's what. But so I get, like, some places, you want to brand and make it more accessible for other people, but then I feel like sometimes when that happens, a lot of places kind of lose some of that authenticity.
So what about in the Philippines? Like, where's your favorite place to visit?
So there's actually this restaurant that I'd go to with when my grandma was in nursing school. Actually, she'd go there with her friends, but it's a restaurant called Aristocrat. But at this restaurant, Aristocrat, they do the sisig, but it comes out like on like a sizzling plate. And so, like, for sisigs, like, it's basically like minced fried pork with like onions and peppers, and then they like crack an egg into it. And it's like a skillet, and then so like
yum.
Yeah, I always loved that. That was always one of my favorite dishes. And then there's another place, Crisostomo, but they do like the baby pig lechon, and then like their whole thing is they do it like wood fire, and then they pull it out. And they like
baby pig lechon. I don't know if I can do that one.
they do it with they chop it up with the plate.
Oh my gosh! And where is this in the Philippines?
So I think Crisostomo, they have one in like Makati, and then I think there's like it's like a chain. It's like a nicer restaurant over there. But I love going to 100 Islands, which is where my it's like Pangasinan, which is my grandpa's from, and so that's like pretty fun area. It's like
do you
beachy.
Stay at a hotel, or do you stay like at their family house?
No, I stay like at a family house or like at an Airbnb sort of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever go when you were little?
No, I didn't go.
Until
I was older. Yeah, 2019. So like when I was actually training, sometimes I'd have like morning training, but my grandpa would always come with me. He'd always come and he'd just sit there and like watch me practice. But we'd have, to walk there. It's like a half-mile walk, but you'd see, sometimes you got like stray dogs, or you got kids running around, or like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Just like the ambiance of it's interesting, but it's a cool area. It's definitely a little different if you're not used to it, but I loved it. I love that experience, and be able to share that with my grandparents, and to see how prideful they were I was there, with them, and training and everything. And it's like, honestly, you know what else I love about there is 7-Eleven. You go into 7-Eleven, they got fried chicken, rice, and
no,
it's
they
like
don't.
Yeah,
do
they do. Yeah.
I don't remember. Maybe I didn't go into enough 7-Elevens when I went last time.
No, you can get like fried chicken, rice, and gravy, and they have like little breakfast and stuff.
Man.
Yeah.
Is it as good as like a Jollibee?
I mean, Jollibee's Jollibee, but sometimes it gets.
I was like listening to you. I was like, wait, this sounds like a Jollibee
meal.
That's
like the inspiration of it. But
yeah.
Chicken Joy is Chicken Joy.
Chicken Joy. That's so good. So when we go to the Philippines again and go to the coffee farms, since you love it, like, you should come with us. It's so cool to stay at the farm. I mean, you got to go to the bathroom in this outhouse, and the only way to flush is using a tabo. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
For those who don't know what a tabo is, it's this little bowl.
Yeah.
Right, with a handle?
Yeah.
A little bowl with a handle, but like a small bucket bowl that your grandparents, your lolas and lolos, and your parents would use to wash your booty when you were little. And that's how they give you a bath. And anyway, so they, like, at the farms, you'd have to scoop the water in this like big bucket, and you'd take it in the bathroom. And you had to get like the right angle of the water to go down to flush. Anyways. It's actually very exciting. And like, you'd have to, like, at night, you'd have to wear like a headlamp, and we're all like walking in groups because,
Yeah,
It's like
it's dark.
pitch black
Pitch
in the
black.
mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
but
you're
no.
out in the provinces, yeah.
No, literally, we were in the mountains of Benguet, which is like maybe 40 minutes up the mountain from Baguio. So it was cold. It was so cool. Like I was wearing, sweats and a sweatshirt, a hoodie in the Philippines. And it's so beautiful. So you are invited to come with us on our, Mostra excursion to the coffee farms anytime. All right, so I like to do this activity just to get to know our guests a little bit better. So I've got these cards right here. They're called Let's Get Closer Table Talk. Since we're having a little table talk here, you just pull a random card.
Okay.
If you don't want to answer the question, that's fine. Some of these questions are kind of crazy. But no, just choose anything. And then you can read it and then answer.
Describe your perfect day. I would say for me, perfect day would be probably waking up early, going to the beach, surfing. After that, getting some coffee, preferably Mostra. And then like on a Sunday, it would be like I kind of want to like relax. Like I already like to go to like the beach in the morning, then kind of like relax throughout the day. I already had the coffee, kind of just chilling around the house. Sometimes I like to like binge TV with my girlfriend. And then late night dinner. I don't know. Sometimes
So just chill.
Yeah, I like to
Perfect
just
day
chill.
is just
yeah,
chilling.
it's just chilling basically.
Okay, awesome. Okay, choose another one. Okay, I'll take that.
What is your favorite time of the year and why? I would say probably September, October here in San Diego, because I feel like that's like, it's not as touristy, but the weather's still nice. It's not like necessarily as hot, so everything's a lot more accessible and like weather-wise, I feel like more ideal. What about you?
It used to be that. It used to be the summer. But as I've gotten older, I don't like the heat as much anymore. So I would say I like fall. I like fall when it like starts to cool down and we're ramping up towards the holidays. Like I get like, it feels kind of magical and exciting when you're just like you're like leading up. So I'd say we're kind of where you are, but like October on.
October down. Yeah, see that October's, I feel like once we hit October, that's where it's just like the year kind of just got away from me. And then it's like you get the holiday anxieties and it's this, and then you're just like, oh, did I hit any of my
goals?
Resolutions? Or like all this? No.
You're like, time to make new ones now.
Make new ones.
Okay, let's do a couple more. I always love these. Get to know people a little bit better, and it's just random. Okay.
What gives you the most pleasure in life? I would say for me is just spending time with my family, spending time with my girlfriend, and just being like here in San Diego.
With loved ones.
With loved ones, 100%.
Okay, let's do one more.
As a child, what was your biggest dream? Did it ever come true? So yeah, as a child, my dream was to be a professional martial artist. That has so far come true. My overall goal, I think, even then, was to make it to the UFC and to be a champion. So I haven't reached that yet, but I'm definitely on the right path and on the current trajectory. So
awesome.
yeah, I'm happy. What about for you? What was your biggest dream?
You know
as
what?
a child?
I'm living it.
Really?
Right now. I wrote in my journal that I wanted to be a successful entertainer, like an actor, who was creating representation for Asian Americans in media, Filipinos specifically, and girls. I wanted to own my own business and where I was making a positive impact in the world. And then I wanted to be married and have children. I'm married and I have children. I have my own business, and I'm still doing acting. So I'm living my dreams now. But I will tell you, after listening to you talk, it's really doing everything that you said. Like I felt at an early age I knew what I wanted, and I just kept pushing for it. And I didn't have my mom and dad or anybody telling me to do it, but like you, I had the support. Like the way you talk about like your Lola and Lolo, that's exactly me. Like my Lola was there just like, I believe in you. My parents, I'd be like, can I go to LA and do this? And they were like, this is your life. You're the only one that's going to live with the regret of doing this or that. So make your choice. And I was like, okay, I will. And then I did, you know.
It's awesome.
But yeah. Chasen, you are such a pleasure to hang out with. We could honestly just chat here for the rest of the day. I really literally could. We should definitely have you back.
Would love
So
to.
because I want to hear an update with like everything that's going on with your career. I'm so proud of you. So cool that you are a local, homegrown San Diego. I mean, RBHS Bronco alumni is here in the building. But just can't wait to see what else you do in your career. And please let us know how we can continue to fuel you, support you. And everyone will be seeing more of Chasen anyways, because he's, like I said, is a Mostra performance athlete. And so much exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. It was a real pleasure, and it was great chatting with you, and can't thank you enough for all the support.
Thank you. Well, cheers. Thank you for coming to Mostra Monday.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.